Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It's Thursday, April the 16th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local market is set for a flat opening with ASX futures down just 3 points. Investor sentiment remains buoyant on hopes of further talks between the US and Iran in regards to the conflict. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq closed at record highs. This was the highest close for the Nasdaq in almost 6 months and comes some 2 weeks after falling into correction. It was boosted by software stocks, while optimism also rose on perceived strong start to the first quarter earnings season. Well, shares of Bank of America rose after the second biggest US lender reported growth in first quarter profit, while Morgan Stanley rallied after reporting a jump in quarterly profit. Top three S&P 500 gainers were Robinhood Markets, DoorDash and Datadog. And shares in shoemaker Allbirds rocketed as it said it plans to pivot to AI computing infrastructure, rebranding itself as Newbird AI. Broadcom shares rose further following its extended deal to provide custom AI processors for Meta. Shares of Snap rose, with the social media firm cutting around 1,000 employees. And locally, Viva Energy will be in focus after a large fire broke out at its Geelong refinery. The Corio plant can process 120,000 barrels of oil a day and is one of only 2 refineries still operating in Australia. Well, the Trump administration says it's optimistic about reaching a deal to end the war with Iran, even as a US shipping blockade in the Strait of Hormuz remained in effect. The US has warned it could add secondary sanctions on buyers of Iranian oil in an apparent effort to gain leverage ahead of more negotiations. And in the latest US data, import prices in March rose 0.8%, while export prices rose 1.6%. And the Federal Reserve's Beige Book showed that economic activity continued to increase at a slight to modest pace across most regions despite higher uncertainty. Meanwhile, President Trump has threatened to fire Fed Chair Jerome Powell from his separate seat on the US Central Bank's Board of Governors if he does not vacate that post as well when his term as Fed Chief ends on May 15th. President Trump's nominee to succeed Powell, Kevin Warsh, is yet to receive Senate confirmation. US Treasuries have retreated. The US 2-year yield rose to 3.76%. The 10-year was at 4.28%. Australian 3-year government bond yields rose to 4.65%. The 10-year higher at 4.99%. US dollar index little change. The Aussie dollar has risen to 71.7 US cents. Oil prices have held steady as supply disruption concerns offset prospects that the war in Iran could soon be over. Brent futures just shy of $95 a barrel. The gold price has fallen, with spot gold down around 1% at close to $4,790 an ounce. Copper's up slightly, as is iron ore, which is $107 a ton. And Bitcoin is currently trading at around $75,000. Ahead locally today, we get jobs data for March, as well as consumer inflation expectations for April. And on the corporate calendar, oil and gas giant Santos is holding its AGM. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.